All right, we're here at Boatsmith 2023. We got Jeff going to talk to us a little bit about some different boats. He's got his Nomad here that he's been paddling, and he had a chance to demo a Scorch a couple days ago. And then yesterday, after getting back in his Nomad, Bobby let him take a lap in his medium Gnar. And so we want to get thoughts on these three boats. Jeff, how long have you been boating?
4 or 5 years at this point. My first boat was a garage sale, like early 2000s boat with not a lot of volume. It was really nice and carvy and playful, but it wasn't very confidence inspiring for a beginner.
Okay.
And then I went and got this Nomad. Most of my progression has been in this Nomad.
Okay. And so then a couple days ago, you got to paddle a Scorch, right?
Right.
And what did you think about that boat just in general?
Scorch was great. I really felt the planing hull and the edges, and I was like able to lean over like I have never been able to do in this Nomad before. I just felt like way more control with like spins and like getting into eddies, and just way more agile, but still maintaining like a lot of the volume and confidence that I was used to from the Nomad.
And what did you paddle in the Scorch? What rundown?
I did the South Fork Gorge.
Okay, cool.
And the warm-up 3 above it.
And so then yesterday you paddled the South Fork Gorge with us, first in your Nomad, and then in Bobby's medium Narvana.
Yeah, it was great to do the same stretch in 3 different boats over 2 days. It made my Nomad feel like paddling a wet log down the river. I just like felt like a potato. Like I just took all the wrong lines.
Oh, wow.
Even though I'd experienced the river, like I just felt like I had such little control. The Nomad led to me upside down a few times. Definitely like shakes the confidence a little to not feel in control.
Get out of there! One more! Come on, hang on! Yeah, come on! One more! Yeah.
The Gnar felt like it had a lot of the maneuverability of the Scorch, but felt a bit more stable, I would say was the biggest comparison for me. Like similarly edgy, maybe the Gnar was like maybe a little bit less edgy than the Scorch and like a little bit less sporty and playful, but I felt like it was a little wider or something, and I just could really like lean and really splat and remain upright. And
so we were looking here at the two boats, right? Because you've got your Nomad with a very soft edge, and then you've got the Gnar. This is a small Gnar. He was in Bobby's medium, which is this one over here. And we were also looking at the stern and just how bulbous that Nomad is versus, kind of like a surfboard look on the Gnar. If you were going to buy a new boat tomorrow, do you think you'd go with the Scorch or with the Gnar?
I really liked them both. Narvana felt like a little midway between the Nomad and the Scorch did feel a little sportier. Depends how much confidence I wanted. I think I would like to lean into the more sporty side and go for the Scorch just because it felt a little bit more playful and a little bit more maneuverable. Honestly, if I had a good line on a Narvana, that'd be great too.
One thing we didn't talk about is your spec. Like, what's your height and weight?
I'm about 5'10", 160 pounds.
Were you in a medium Scorch?
Yes.
And the medium
Gnar.
Okay.
Both fit pretty well.
All right, so the Nomad's going up for sale. You heard it here, people.
I know.
All right, any other thoughts?
Done with this soggy potato, and I need me a boat with a planing hole and some proper edges.
Yeah, dude. Anything else that we didn't cover?
Nope, nailed it.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we're here with Casey. He had the opportunity to demo a Scorch and now a Gnar, large in both of those. What were you paddling before, Casey?
I was paddling a Phantom.
Okay, and would you mind telling us your spec?
Yeah, I'm 5'9" and about 190.
Thoughts on the large Scorch? I guess we'll start there. You paddled that a couple days ago.
It was good. I was worried about it being a lot edgier than the Phantom, but it did pretty much everything I asked of it. There were no big surprises or anything like that. Just kind of had to drive it like the Phantom, and yeah, it was great.
And then today you were in a large Narvana. It's a big boat. How did that feel? What'd you think?
Yeah, it's definitely a big boat. It's much wider than the Scorch.
A lot of boat.
And
A lot of boat. Like, it's hard for me to engage
yeah, especially with
basically,
especially with so much width.
Yeah, it's light. It's like, I feel like it's floating so high. It's fun though.
You know, if I really look at the Nirvana, I want to try medium for sure. But that said, even though it is a really big boat, I didn't have any trouble turning it, was still able to boof it really well and move it around.
What about that width? Because it's very wide. Did you notice that playing a role?
Yeah, I noticed it a little bit rolling. It's definitely slower rolling than a narrower boat. And then trying to get it on edge, just because it's not what I'm used to and it's a little wider. You know, I really felt like I had to push my knee to try to get it to lean.
And you paddle a rewind and a supernova, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, and have you given thought to the code since you got Dagger family?
Yeah, one of the things I liked about the Phantom was that it forced me to drive the boat and be a really active paddler, which is something I want to try to work on. It seems like the code, you can be a little bit more passive, which can be great. It seems like it'll take care of you. I think there's all the boats out right now are great, so.
Very true. Anything else that we forgot?
No.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, welcome.
Right. So we're here with Tim. Tim, can you start by telling us just what your spec is, height and weight, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'm 5'6". I weigh about 160 pounds.
Okay. And you're in a medium Nirvana, right?
Correct, yep.
And the Scorch, you still have your Scorch?
I do, yeah, I love that.
What size
and it's
is
also
that?
a medium as well.
Okay, and how long were you paddling that?
I paddled the Scorch for about 6 months, and I've probably been on a dozen runs or so now on the Nirvana. Starting first with the Scorch, I love the rails on the Scorch. It's fast, it will go in the direction I want it to go. I can be where I want to be whenever I want to be there. Comparing that to the Nirvana, I think the Nirvana, and maybe it's because the rocker is so big on both the front and the back, I can pivot that really quickly. But I do find if I'm not leaning pretty hard, it will wash out sideways. I have a harder time getting where I want to be when I want to be on the Gnar compared to the Scorch. Yeah.
So often the flip side to that is that the softer boat will let you get away with minor mistakes?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can completely tell that there's more volume in the stern, which gives me a lot more cushion when I'm not quite on line, end up in a hole that I don't really want to be in. It's a lot more forgiving. Also, bumping into rocks, etc., on the Nirvana, it protects me a lot better, whereas in the Scorch, if I hit a rock and I'm not anticipating it, I can flip a lot easier in the Scorch.
And see here, like in your boat, that this sidewall, right, is much more angled than it would be on the Scorch.
Yep, I think it's a lot softer. And then just looking at the rails here, it's got good rails. Like if you compare that to say the Code, the rails are fantastic. But if you're coming off of a Scorch, I think you're gonna find the rails to feel a lot softer.
Okay. And how about sizing? How do you feel in the medium at your height and weight?
The medium felt very large when I first got into it. In fact, my first 2 paddles, I hated the boat. I was I was ready to sell it, right?
Okay.
Third and fourth paddle, I started to figure out how to drive it. And since then, frankly, I've loved it. If I'm getting in anything that I'm not super confident in, I take the Nirvana. If I'm getting in something that I feel very comfortable with, and I know the lines, I know where I want to be, I'll take the Scorch.
What other boats do you paddle? You got half slice?
I've got an Antics half slice, and my only gripe with that is that it's super wide.
Okay.
It surfs like a dream. The Nirvana also surfs very, very well for a creek boat compared to the Scorch. The Scorch likes to peel me off of waves faster than I can correct.
Okay.
The Nirvana is a lot more forgiving in that regard. So I can surf just about anything in the Nirvana.
One of the things I noticed paddling the Antics and also the Gnar is that they both are very predictable.
Absolutely. With both the Antics and the Nirvana, maybe it's the Jackson hulls and how they design them. They are very predictable. They're slower than the other boats with harder rails, but if you can anticipate and you know where you got to be when you got to be there, and you can manage it ahead of time, they're great boats. Cool. The advantage of the Scorch is if mid-rapid you realize, God, I got to be left 10 feet, you can be there so fast.
Anything else that we haven't covered?
I don't think so. And I think it comes down to paddling style and the types of rivers that you run. They're both fantastic boats. I still own both. I won't sell either one. So it really depends on what I'm running and how I feel about it as to whether or not it's the Scorch or the Nirvana for the day.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Okay.